Welcome to Stage Dive, a podcast where we go deep on the art of live performance to help artists perform better on stage. I am your host, Jack Dawkins. I am a rapper, poet, and storyteller out of Boulder, Colorado. My guest today is Alex Filippidou. She is a professional dancer who originally hails from Greece but is currently living in the Netherlands. She has danced and performed all over the world, including where she won her first ever dance battle, which was in Los Angeles. We talk a lot in this episode today about the mental health of artists and how your art is not your entire life, but instead a reflection of the person that you are and the life that you've lived. I thought it was fascinating. I enjoyed it so much. I know you will too. Here is my conversation with Alex. So as I just mentioned to you, the place that I want to start is with the quote that's at the top of your Instagram profile. I don't move unless my heart moves.
Yes.
Can you tell me where that came from?
That comes from my heart. I'm very, I have a very special relationship with dance. And for me, it has been my mirror for like many years. Because as I started I've been dancing since I was 8, so I'm 28 now, yeah. So it's been a process to actually love myself through that and love myself and love my dance. So um, being in that space and wanting to, you know, be good and improve my skills and dance good and really like my dance, um, like I had to confront, my demons, right? So why why I don't feel like satisfied after my practice, why I cannot enter a cipher, why do I feel like I'm very like stressful when I go to a battle, because all that you can be the best dancer in the world and you still have these feelings, right? So it doesn't come from dance, it comes from like the mind, right? So dance has been like my mirror, like I said. So I had to work on a lot of things in order to be able to actually enjoy this space, because I've been really hard on myself for many years and like very strict. Um, so when I got to the point where I let the shit go, and I was like feeling good inside that, I started like, yeah, I started like using this space, like using dance and my art form. Um, as something obviously like to express, because it's something that makes me happy, right? And I'm a person that I value my emotions and my feelings a lot, and I don't like to suppress myself or press myself, like pressure myself in any way. So really like whatever, like whenever I decide to step into like the practice space or to share something, it has to come from here. Like I cannot force myself, like um and it's nice, that you ask this question, and I really like talking about it, because sometimes we say, oh, people like express themselves like through art, and of course that's true, right? And we have like everybody has a different like art form that they want to express through and like put out emotions and stuff like that. But if, for example, I feel very overwhelmed by something, I cannot dance. Like it's too much for me to be in that space with my feelings, because now there's a lot of like vulnerability that I enjoy a lot, of course, and I like to be open, and I want to be my truth, right? But because I want to be my truth and I want to be in my truth, I have to be honest with myself first. So if I don't feel like, this space helps me at this point, then I'm not gonna go there. Like if my heart is like this, then I have to give time, and not like, oh, I have to practice every day, or I have to dance now to release emotions. That's not the only way for me. So I want to be authentic, and I want to be honest towards myself first before I put something out there, so I know that it comes 100% from like what I feel and what I'm going through. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the pieces of being an artist that like is so interesting is learning that not practicing is actually part of the identity also.
Of course.
And like there's an arc, right? So you started when you were 8, and when you start, it's because you love it
Mm,
and it's joy and it's fun and it's like, oh my, like I can do this, and like I can go to class and I can meet people and like amazing. And then at some point you realize that like there is building of skill, there is talent, there's I want to be better, I want to strive, I want to improve. And so like cool, and you keep tightening those
Mm-hmm.
dials. And then at some point you experience the fracture of like my humanity is going this way,
Yeah.
the need to get better at dancing is going this way, and it's breaking.
Yeah.
And you have like a fucking crisis because you're like, wait, hold on, this thing that I love so much is making these things
Yeah.
worse,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't know how to reconcile that. And then
Mm.
like you gotta like I kind of want to hear about like all those parts of your life.
Yeah.
So you like, how did you start at 8? What happened?
Yeah. Before we go there, I want to say something, because you said like, oh, my humanity and my dance, and you know, that's the thing. I meet a lot of people, and people say, oh, dance is my life, singing is my life, painting is my life, and it's nice. You know, everybody has like their own way of embracing like what they do. But for me, I had to really put this boundary, so to say, to myself and be like, hey, I'm human first. You know, I need to be,
Mm,
I'm not defined just by dance, and dance should not just define, like, it's not all that I am. Of course, dance is my life and I really love it, you know. But I'm also like, hey, I'm not gonna let this thing define me. Like, I'm not gonna be just that. Because also, I had I had a really good teacher when I was from 16 to 18 years old. I had a really good teacher, and he told me, he said, hey, don't just dance, go out there, like, get your heart broken, go out with your friends, go travel, go do this, go do that, because then all these life experiences will then let you bloom, you know, and take that back to your
mm,
like dancing space. And I was like, yeah, dance is my life, but it's not the only thing that is in my life, you know. And that really like gave
yes.
me a sense of like peace, so to say, because back then, you know, like teenager, oh, dance, dance, dance. I was like really like, I wanted to push and do everything and stuff, but I was like, hey, wait a minute, this is not gonna be good, you know. So I'm happy that I had this advice, you know, and of course it took me years to like realize. But yeah, I just wanted to
Of
say that,
course.
yeah. Um,
No, I think that's so beautiful. And like your life is your life, right? Like
yeah,
it sounds stupid, but like your life is your relationships. It is your humanity. Again, all the different things you go through. And then I think like whether it's dance, whether it's music, whatever it is, like that's an expression of life coming through you.
yes, yes.
Like that's it's the channel,
Yeah,
right?
it's your fuel too, you know, like you like that's why a lot of artists, you know, we see it in singers a lot, which is also like very unfortunate. But you see a lot of singers like, you know, getting to a point where they're like really like they get like a drug addiction because of the pain they put through, but their
Mm,
music is so good, you know, they're like such good artists,
mm,
but they're going through pain, you know, and that's like the fuel, which is also like, you know, good and bad at the same time, but balance in life. So I think like
yes.
you need to have like the fuel, you know, like of course it makes sense. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So take us back to when you were 8. How did you start dancing?
Yes, so as a kid, I was very like active. I was doing like a lot of activities, and I was back then playing the piano for like a couple of years. And I used to be also the kid that would like quit on on everything because after a while things would get hard for me. I would get something from the beginning like really really fast, but the moment it started like, but the moment it would start getting harder, I would be like, oh shit, you know, like something is here that I don't get. And I was so hard on myself and I was so strict that I was like, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then I was quitting, you know. So I was kind
Mm,
of like, so my mom signed me up at the same music school. They also had like dance classes. They would offer dance classes. So she signed me up for a ballet class, you know. And then I started there, and I still remember the first thing that I ever did. You know, it's like one of those memories that you never forget, that stay like an image in your head. And then I loved it so much that I was like, I'm never quitting this. I quit everything else that I
mm,
was doing at the time, but I never quit dance. I promised myself, hey, this is the last thing that you're doing now, and you're not gonna quit, you know. So I kept that promise, and I'm really happy that I did, because there have been times, you know, throughout life that I was like, oh, this is not for me, or I'm not good enough, and you know, doubting and all these like things. But yeah, so I started with ballet and jazz, and I was doing that for like 5 years. And after that, I started doing like Latin dances. So I have a professional degree in Latin dances, which is something that a lot of people don't know. So ballroom and like, mambo, cha-cha, samba, and all these things. I was also competing in salsa for 2 years because I was doing it also like I was going also in competitions. And at the same time, I was also doing street styles. It was kind of like this hip hop choreo stuff that wasn't really hip hop. And, it was like a really weird thing back then. But then when I was 16, I was lucky enough to have a teacher that he's a b-boy and he's also doing contemporary right now, that he was like knowledgeable, like he was like, the real deal.
Mm,
And then he started like teaching us different styles. And I was like really excited to see what's there, because I didn't know what the battle is until I was like 16 years old. So like that's crazy, it's 12 years ago. And other people like battle at 16, and I had no idea. Also
right.
being in Greece, the scene here is like, I mean, now it's better, but back then it was also like small, not a lot of things like going on and stuff. Yeah, and then I really fell in love with like popping, because of the illusion that it provides. And then I just
Mm,
started traveling abroad and taking workshops like in Europe, and trying to find, like teachers, or like take lessons where I could like just pick stuff and just practice and stuff like that. Yeah.
I have several
Okay, okay,
questions.
okay, let's do
So
it.
like, if you can,
Hmm.
like, so I totally understand the like, it's fun when you get it, and then as soon as you stop getting it, it's no longer
Yeah.
fun. Like, where do you think that pressure to get it right came from?
Whew. Um, it was honestly like me being like, a kid, not accepting the fact that something needs time. Like I wanted to get it right away, because I was the
Mm,
type of kid that would get something like really fast, and maybe sometimes faster than other kids. But when things started getting like a little bit harder, I was like, I need more time now. Like I need double the time to process what is coming. And the fact that I couldn't do that would like put a lot of pressure on me, and I just wanted to run away. Like you want to run away from your
mm,
problem, and because you don't want to cry, because I was crying a lot, because yeah, I was crying a lot. So I think it had a lot to do with like self-doubt, self-confidence, which is also like so much for like an 8-year old, you know, like to have.
yeah.
But it's all like, of course, like we deal with a lot of like trauma in our lives, and everybody has like, the trauma. And that's why I said that dance was like my mirror, because I was like forced in a good way to be like, okay, you don't want to quit this, but you feel like quitting because it's so difficult for you. So now let's find like the real reason why you trying to like, run away from it, when you know that you can actually
Mm,
like do it. So it was a process, and I'm really happy for that. Like I'm really happy that
yeah.
that it came like this way, because I had to work on myself. And honestly, right now I don't really remember what was the root of this thing, but I remember that I worked on it a lot. I was like learning to accept, also to be like, hey, this needs time. Everybody's different. Don't compare yourself. It has a lot to do also with comparison. Also, like, okay, why am I not getting
Mhm.
it? Like, yeah. So it had a lot to do with like acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely connect to that. Um, if you go back to a
Mm,
similar time, like when you say you love dance, I obviously understand what you're saying. What was the embodied experience? Like, do you remember what you felt? Because, like, I'm sure you enjoyed other things. It's not like you didn't find joy in something else, but dance was different. Like,
mm-hmm,
what was the experience of loving something so deeply? You're like, this needs a different approach. I want to think about
mm.
this one differently.
Um, it's like the movement. It's the body movement. The
Mm,
fact that you can actually like do this, for example, and feel something. Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's like a very interesting question. I've never thought about it like this. But I think like the fact that you can actually feel what you create is like
Mm.
really, really interesting. Like, for example, if you're like a painter, then you see what you're drawing, right? So this is your vision and you're seeing the process, so you see it. Imagine you're feeling it too. Like imagine like you dance
Mm.
and then you actually feel the process because as we practice and our muscles like how do you say, they have like the muscle memory, and then you get better at like things you do, then the sensation is also changing in the body, and that's so nice. Like it's so nice to experience this, it was like so different, and I love movement in general. I think that's what like got me. I was like, oh wow, I can feel something, in my body like moving. I don't know.
Mm.
I guess that's something that that draw my attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah, in hearing the way you describe it, it sounds like sort of connecting to your intuition for the first time. Like your body had a natural
Totally. Oh,
draw toward how to
yes.
move, and you're like, oh, I just get to let my body do what it's telling me to do,
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Like
I love that. Yes, yes. Yeah.
that's the
It's
gift.
yes,
That's the
totally.
gift.
You got that right. Yeah. Thank you also for saying that. It
Uh,
makes also so much sense for me.
no, I'm
Yeah.
so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And selfishly, like I can relate. The first time I ever had a chance to learn about freestyling,
Mm-hmm.
like you'll learn it in this interview. My brain doesn't move in straight lines. It bounces all over the place. And so most of the time I'm trying to control it
Mm-hmm.
and be like, no, like go in a logical order, like do the right thing, say the right thing. Freestyling, you have so much freedom to be
Yes.
like, my brain is thinking about elephants and now it's thinking about the color blue and now I'm thinking about Spain. And like,
True, true,
not
true.
only is that okay, like it's awesome. People are like, how'd you do that? It's like, that's just what my brain does. Like, I'm just letting it do what it wants to do. And like,
Totally.
there's so much freedom in that.
Yes.
Um, Different
Mm-hmm.
question. You've done a ton of different styles,
Yes.
and it sounds like you did some in a formal setting in school. You did some through a mentor. You did some, I'm sure, just picking up from other
Mm-hmm.
people. Like when you're doing different styles of dance, how do I want to ask this question? You're one
Uh-huh.
person. These styles of dance have personalities.
Yeah.
So, like, like, what is the relationship between who you are and what the dance calls for? And, like, how do you navigate that?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. But we'll see depending on my answer.
We'll
Um,
explore. We'll figure it
yes,
out.
yes, let's do it. So so the thing is, I started with like very technical dances because ballet needs technique,
Ballet, duh.
jazz needs like a lot of technique. Latin dances only techniques. There was like a lot of technique, 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 technique. Yeah, and um, and I love it. But at the same time, um, I didn't like realize the value of everything that my body and my mind has learned until the time where I was like 19, 20. So it took me a lot of time to realize and acknowledge how much all these dance styles have helped me to do like what I do right now, and how they contributed into like building, my own thing and stuff. So um, again, I'm gonna talk about like a feeling and a sensation. For example, in ballet, you go like this, and you're like you have like this type of like position. Yeah, this creates like a feeling in the body, right? Like a sensation. Oh, my shoulder blades are like kind of like squeezed together. I have my sternum kind of like out, and stuff. And then in Latin dances, for example, you need to isolate the hips a lot, like your upper body with your lower body completely, like really a lot of isolation. So this provides you with a different feeling, right? Um,
Mm.
so I'm picking techniques that I like how they feel in the body, and then create like, like different stuff. Like I pick from different like styles and techniques that I've been trained at like throughout the years, and then I just like I mix and match in my dance, like in waving, like what I do right now. So it feels like there's all like puzzle pieces that I put together to create, like what I do right now. I don't know if that was a question.
Mm. No, it
Okay.
was. I think like the the way I would tease it out, it sounds like the dance um, gives your body a structure.
Mm-hmm.
And when you assume that position with your body, the rest of your humanity aligns with that structure and you begin to express in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, sort of. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you listen to a song, yeah, and some like a different song will give you a different like feeling. It's the same thing. So if
Yes.
I hear like a song that is more of like it has more of like a dance hall or Caribbean vibe, you want to move differently to that. But you're still using, let's say, the same style. But now because I feel I feel like a different vibe from the song, then I'm gonna move like differently. So I
Mm.
think it's how it goes, because music also like plays such like a huge role, like it's a number one thing. As dancers, like we listen to music, and then we move because we like what we hear, and this gives us something. It provides us with like an atmosphere, it provides us like with feelings, with like I don't know, a vibration, and you just want to move. So having like all these different techniques and ways to feel my body helps me also adapt easier, let's say, or finding more ways to move through music or with music. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Amazing. Yeah, no, it absolutely does. It's there seems to be such a close link between sort of like your relationship to self and the evolution of your dance. And it seems like you use the word mirror,
Hmm.
right? It's like as you get more connected to yourself, you get more connected to your
Oh yeah,
dance and
absolutely.
vice versa, back and
Yes,
forth.
yes, 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 absolutely. Yeah, that's what happened. That's why, hence the quote, like on IG, I'm like, because this is how I feel. I want to be my truth. And I want to speak that
Mm.
through my dance. So, yeah.
Can you remember a specific time when you feel like you either had a big breakthrough or you feel like you had a big aha moment
Hmm.
that taught you a lot about yourself and that connection to dance?
Yes, there have been like times where I really wanted to quit, or I was feeling like I
Mm.
wasn't I wasn't going where like I wasn't where I wanted to be. I was kind of like maybe rushing also the process, or there have been times where for reasons, I don't know, work or like whatever, I wasn't able to dance as much. So I was like, that's not for me. And then you kind of like forget, if you practice like twice a month, which what happened with me was, then you start like kind of like forgetting kind of what is happening in the battle world or in the session world, or like you forget that there are like people out there like dancing, um and of course the feeling like never left obviously, but it felt like I was getting sucked by a hole, like, so to say, and it
Mm.
wasn't like a nice feeling. And then that was the time, so that was when I was 19 years old. I moved to Germany because in Greece I didn't feel like there was somebody here that could teach me everything that I wanted to learn. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna move. If like it doesn't come, if it's not where I am, then I'm gonna go where it is. So I moved, yeah, and I was like, I turned 20 that year, and I had to survive and like feed myself and pay my rent and do all these nice things that adults do. So I started like dancing class, right? And for almost like a year I wasn't like really dancing, and it was very hard. And after that, me and my best friend Kali, we decided to go to LA. So we took a trip to LA because Kali has been there before, and she just like she was like, we have to go there. We have to like meet the people, session and do all this nice stuff. The scene there obviously is also huge and like incredible and everything. So we went there, and after like 2 3 days there was like a battle, and we participated and we won. And I was like, shit, I won, like with somebody else, like, oh, it was a two versus two, yeah. So I won a battle, like without practicing. And I like, but I was so happy to be in that space that I let myself free, and I was like, yeah, of course I would like to win, but I wasn't even thinking about that because I was like, I'm not practicing, so there's no way I'm gonna win. But everything that I have
Mm.
learned and practiced was still there in my body. So with me being in a good mood and being like, okay, let's just like, have fun, and like we're here right now, so we might as well do it. Jet lagged and everything. So we won, and I'm like, that's like, I cannot um I cannot deny to myself what others see in me. And I have to stop not seeing like my potential, like, and not seeing what is
Mm.
there. So I was like, okay, I need just one person to believe in me in a way. Of course, I had like multiple persons like believing in me, but I needed to believe in myself. But situations like that also push you, because you're like, okay, you won like a battle, and that's like, it is huge. It was my first battle ever also. So I was like, okay, there's something here. I cannot, yeah, yeah. I was like, I cannot deny it. Like,
Good.
I have to, I don't know, it felt like really strong in my gut that, hey, now is your time. Like, you just have to go for
Mm.
it. So that really gave me a push, and I had a lot of like inspiration and motivation, and people would just come up to us and be like, wow, where are you guys from? You guys are so dope. And I'm like, I'm not practicing for a year, but hell yeah. you know so I was like, okay, 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 I have to love myself more. I have to give this to myself. Like, I owe it somehow to myself to see where can I take this, like where can I go with it, because yeah, uh, I had so much time. I was just like only 21 back then. So that
Yeah.
was a moment where I was like, okay, I need to, no
Yeah.
more excuses, Alex. You just have to do it. You have to go for it.
It doesn't sound like you were making excuses. And
Mm,
like from this end, I didn't wasn't
yeah.
there. Like the fact that you moved to Germany and you're like, I'll do the dance classes, I'll do the work, I'll give up these opportunities because I want to do
Mm,
it. Um, but I think maybe what I know for a lot of artists, what happens is they get to that place of like, how can I use this art form in a more businessy
mm,
context to pay my rent and to get stability, but then they get stuck
yeah.
there and they never actually get back to a more pure artistic expression in a way that really, really fills the cup. And it sounds like in that moment, you're like, I can't do dance classes forever. Like
Mm,
I have to perform
yeah.
just for myself and just to be out in the
Yeah,
world.
and like back then I wasn't even working with dance. I mean, I was giving like a few classes here and there, but I wasn't even at a good level. Like for myself, like I was like, I'm still like a baby in this game. I have to. There's so
Mm,
much like I need to learn, so much I need to practice and everything. But I'm happy that I wasn't working with dance back then, and that gave me like a different perspective because. Sometimes when you, of course, we love that we make money and we make a living out of like what we love, and that is a huge blessing. I'm so grateful that I get to live this life, but it can also be very like stressful in a way of like, wow,
mhm,
I'm doing so much for others, but when is the time for myself? Yeah.
mm.
When is the time that I practice? When is the time that I practice what I teach? Also,
Right,
in a
right,
way. Yeah.
right. So I'm curious, like when you were little, you put a lot of pressure on
Mm,
yourself. Like now as you're
mm,
older, your life has a lot of pressure
mm.
already. You don't need to put any more on it. So like how has that need or desire to put pressure on yourself, how has that changed over time?
It changed by the fact that I was like I talked about a while ago, like before, acceptance. Like just accepting that, hey, like everybody's different. Everybody has like their own like journey, and I just have to make whatever is best for me right now, today and tomorrow, but not like thinking about, okay, what am I doing in 1 month, or what am I doing in 1 year? And of course, like I was thinking about like making dance my profession, but at the same time, I had the fear, because also here in my country, like in Greece, you can't really survive as an artist. Like things are like really like bad. So I wasn't thinking that, oh, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life and I'm gonna be dancing and stuff like that. And I was also like interested in other things. So I'm like, I don't know. So me actually transitioning into making dance my profession came very organically, like came like very naturally,
Mm.
and stuff. And I love that because I wasn't like chasing it, it just came to me. And it's beautiful that it happened this way. And then this pressure, I feel like, you can, you go through it, there it comes in waves also, the pressure. And it can be pressure of like anything. It can be the pressure of like, oh, I'm going through something, and now I cannot tap into my practice, as it has happened to me like lately. Like I'm going through something, emotionally, and that like makes me not want to dance. And that is like something that hits you, like, and you're like, oh, okay, now it's the pressure that I'm not practicing, but I want to, so it's a different type of like pressure. um but yeah, I think, like, the best thing that I did was to just like breathe, and just accept
Mm.
that, hey, no need to put pressure for what good does that like give to me. Pressure is good. The constructive pressure is good, like, the one that's like, okay, I need to finish this right now, or I have like a deadline, and like without being a stressful pressure. you know um so I kind of like cope with that like this. I actually am the type of person that I don't want to pressure myself, so I'm finding ways of like not being in that state, and just like accepting and being more loving to myself, being like, okay, you didn't practice
Mm.
today. Why you didn't practice? Do you feel some type of way? Do you, I don't know, are you tired, or like what is the reason? And if the reason is just like me, let's say, procrastinating, then I'm like, okay, you get your ass up, and then you just play some music, and then you just dance. And there have been so many times where I didn't feel like practicing, and I was like, just do it, just do it. And I was pressing the play button, and then I was like, okay, I actually feel it, and then I was feeling good. So that's also something you build.
I hope you're enjoying my conversation. I just wanted to send a few notes your way about things I have coming up. On April 7th, my next single is coming out. It is called Writer's Block. It is my first collaboration with a producer from Toronto named Ugly Fun, and it was an incredibly exciting and joyful process to make it with him. He has such a unique sound, and I'm really, really excited to share that with you. And then secondarily, I have a show, if you happen to be in the Denver area, on April 14th at the Marquee Theater. Doors at 7, show is at 8. I will be opening up for Toon Mac. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think as an athlete, like I don't train as much as I used to, but I used to train a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And the rule I had is like you always have to do the first mile.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not that you can't take days off. It's not that you can't skip workouts. It's not that you can't need to move or change things, but you need to try for just the first little bit
Mm-hmm.
and give your body and your mind a chance to just be out there and give it a shot.
Yeah.
And if at the end of that first mile you're like, no, I feel like shit, I don't want to do this, awesome. Pack it up, go home, take a shower.
Yes.
Like you'll get them again tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But you have to try. You have to
Yeah.
try at least a tiny bit.
Yeah. 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 You have to try, and it's also this thing that somebody has said it on the internet. I don't know. Like, motivation is like not enough. You also need to have discipline. So you need to
Yes.
like motivate yourself
Yes.
of something and remind yourself. This is something that I experienced so much the last like 4 or 5 months, like the reminders that we tell ourselves, like remind like to remind myself that, hey, yeah, actually, if I don't feel like practicing, I remind myself that, hey, but if you actually practice, then you will feel better after. And then if I go into the practice space, and I feel like, I really don't want to do this, man, then it's all good. I Like you said, you pack your stuff and then you leave, and it's all good. Nothing happened, but you know that you tried, right? And you listen also to your
Yes.
heart when you felt like, hey, I don't want to practice, like get me out of here. And then you just go home, you know, and you just do something that feels good at the moment. But sometimes we have to like remind ourselves that, hey, if I'm actually getting into that space, then it feels good. So for example, like last week I was in Holland, and I was hosted by a friend of mine, and we were supposed to hang out like in the evening, right? And after his work, and then he said, hey, there's a session, do you want to go? And I already saw that there's a session like at the university where we where I teach. And he's like, do you want to go? And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. But I wasn't thinking about proposing that. And even though I saw that there's a session, I felt like, I don't know if I want to go there. But somebody motivated me, and then we went there, and we had so much fun. And I'm like, I have to remind myself that actually, when I find myself in that space, it's good, you know. But you just need like this little like extra push. They're like, just get your body there, just get your body there, and everything else like will just like flow, you know. So I think the reminders are really important, because sometimes like we tend to forget how something could feel, and we stay so much in the feeling, you know, that we have right now, that we're like, okay, like, okay, what is happening? It's the same thing with going to the gym, you know, like people are like, yeah, I want to hit the gym, and then they're like, maybe I just skip it, I'm too tired, or I'm sleepy and stuff. But now here, like, I'm gonna hit you with some science. Like, you know, you go
Ooh.
to the gym, and then there are like hormones that are being released in your body. So either you want it or not, you're gonna feel good. So it's that simple.
Yep.
Same thing goes like, you know, with dance and moving the body and everything. There's no way you're leaving a session feeling bad. There's no way you're leaving a
Yes.
jam or a practice like feeling like, you know, that you didn't have fun, or like, you're not gonna live with like, you know, being like this. You're gonna live with a smile always. But
Yes.
that's a given. Yeah.
Always. Always. Yeah. There's something that I so agree with everything you just said. And what I have found is that like a lot of people I hear say like, because you overcame the inertia, you overcame the desire to not go, that builds muscle memory. There's some truth to that. I think there's something much
Hmm.
deeper, which is like your body wants to move. Like it is literally part of your DNA and your
Yeah.
biology. The reason you don't want to move is because work sucks, or you're heartbroken, or like these other things that are
Hmm.
happening, and you so desperately want to give yourself a
Hmm.
break. And again, it comes back to
Hmm.
self-love. And so like it doesn't make you a bad person because you don't want to go to the gym,
Yes.
but again, it's what are you connecting to? And so are you connecting to the fact that you feel bad or that work sucks or these things? Or are you connecting to the fact that your body somewhere in there is like, please God, let me move.
Hmm.
Put me in sunshine, put me around people. Like this is what I need. Please feed me.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's like,
Totally.
and so it's not you have to fucking force yourself and like,
Yeah.
no, it's like just listen to your
Mm.
body, because your body's going to tell you to get the fuck off the couch. I guarantee
Yeah,
you it doesn't
absolutely.
want to be there.
Yeah. So true. I so agree with that. Yeah. It's very, and that's why, like, I talked about like the discipline, because you have the motivation. You're like, yeah, I want to go to the gym. And then you're like, this chair feels so nice, like, you know, in my body
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, like, you know, and then you're like, of course, there are like other factors that play a big role in that. And especially when you're starting something new, you know, like something for the first time, like it takes like, I don't know, I think 21 days for the body and the brain to like get used to like this new thing that you're doing, the new activity, or like, I don't know, beats, I don't know, like writing, journaling the moment you wake up and stuff. Like you always have like this resistance because your ego is trying to protect
Yes.
you. So it's like, no, we're not gonna do this because this is gonna like open up some doors that we don't want to face. Either it's like, you know, like there's so
Mm-hmm.
many things that come into play. And that's why I also like when I teach, I talk a lot about life. I talk a lot about like how we act and how we are in our like everyday life, because you're not somebody different when you dance. If either you want it or not, you're still the same person, you know, you're still carrying like this person like into the dance space. So your life is, you know, like affected, is affecting your dance. Your life is affecting your dance, you
Yes.
know. So you have to take all the different personas that you have in you and like let them like, be there when you dance. Otherwise, who are you,
Yes.
So I think it's really important to also realize these things, because then for people that just starting dance, or like they're beginners, or they're like, I don't know, they deal with some pressure, putting like they put pressure to themselves. It's good to know like things like, hey, it's gonna get better. Your body has muscle memory. You can train your brain in this way. So like more of like, in the scientific part of like what is happening actually in the brain and in the body, because you're like, we all have two arms, two legs, like if you're healthy, like, and stuff, like you can do everything. Like nobody's better than anyone else. Like we can all still do the same things, some different, some like this, but you can do it, but for somebody that is just starting
Mm,
right now, for like a beginner, I feel like it's so important to not lose yourself inside this thing, and be like gentle,
mm,
and be like, hey, if I don't practice today, it's all good. I will practice tomorrow, but tomorrow I have to practice. You can get,
yes.
the one day and be like, maybe I don't feel it. Okay, cool. But what can I do that will help me? So something that I was doing, and I'm not saying that this is the right way. Everybody works differently, and whatever works for everybody, like for anyone, they have to find for themselves, right? So what worked for me was like, okay, I'm grumpy today. I don't want to dance, but I can still practice my technique. So I'm gonna drill for 45 minutes, because right now I know that I'm training my muscles. Even if I'm like this,
Mm.
I'm still doing it, And then after, yes, and then after that, I'm like, okay, I feel
Yes.
accomplished. And this is a good feeling. I did something for myself, and I did something today that I will see the result tomorrow. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. A very wise friend of mine once gave me the frame of forgive and recommit.
Hmm.
So like I didn't dance today, you immediately forgive yourself of like it doesn't mean I'm a bad person, it doesn't mean I don't care, it doesn't mean any of those
Exactly.
things. I forgive myself. And like your next sentence is like, and I'm going to do it tomorrow. I set the time in my
Hmm.
day. I packed my bag, so I'm ready to go.
Hmm.
Right? Like use the time you would have to practice to set yourself up to have a great practice
Yeah,
tomorrow.
consistency.
Like, and
Yeah.
it makes such a huge
Yes,
difference. Such a huge
absolutely.
difference.
And it's also, for me, it's also quality over quantity. It doesn't mean that if you want to
Yes.
practice and become like better, you have to practice every day. You actually need to practice for as long as your body and your brain like allows you to and works for you. Some people might
Mm-hmm.
practice like 4 times a week and they're like super dope, and some others might need like 5 days a week. That's fine. You just have to find out what works for you, and like make the
Yes.
choice. But even if you practice, like, it doesn't mean like that you have to practice, oh, I need to practice every day 2 or 3 hours, because if I do less than that, then my practice is not like perfect, or my practice is like not this, or it's not that. That's so not true. You can even practice like
Right.
half an
Right.
hour and be like, that was good.
Well, and I know you know this because you've been dancing for 20 years, like that changes.
Of
So there were
course.
periods in your career where like every day, all day felt
Mm,
right. And you were connected to your body and your brain. It was so nourishing and you were so
mm-hmm.
happy. And then a year or two later, like 3 days a week, 20 minutes, you're like, oh, enough. Like that's all I need right
Yes.
now. And then like ebbs and flows, like, and allowing yourself to be in different seasons or phases
Yes.
in your relationship to this art
Mm-hmm.
form, and to be again
Mm-hmm.
gentle with like, okay, it was a lot cooler or sexier when I practiced all the time and I was making these big jumps and blah blah blah. Like, and I can't do that right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's just it doesn't fit into my life. It's not where I
Mm-hmm.
am. And so like allowing yourself to be in those different places, even if it doesn't look as cool as you want it to, or if it doesn't sound as sexy as you hope that it would,
Yes.
I think is very important.
Yeah, yeah, we have to adjust, and adapt to like
Yes.
what is happening, because life is happening, so you cannot like wait
Mm-hmm.
for something like, oh, I'm gonna practice when I'm off, like, from this, when I quit this job in like 2 months. You can't do that. Like, you just have to practice
No.
that day. Like the moment that you say that, you
Yes.
just have to like get up and just like, okay, I'm just gonna practice right now, we cannot like
Yes.
wait on things to happen and stuff. And also, like, the more you dance and the more the years like go by, and what I've noticed in myself is that also the perception of like the understanding of dance, okay, what am I doing, how am I practicing, is the key here. How
Mm,
does my practice look like? Do I just go into the practice space and I think about, like, I don't know, elephants, or something like that? Or do I think about, okay, what do I actually need to practice today? Or what do I actually need to practice
yes.
every day for like the rest 2 months? Because it's not like,
Right.
also this thing, you cannot go every day and practice something different. You have to stay consistent in order to build something and also like understand it. So this changes as well as years go by and as the more you practice and stuff, because it's different now. If I go into like, I always have an intention. There's always an intention set. Either it's for me to just like feel something when I dance, or either me practicing, technique, or practicing like a concept, or doing like all of them in one practice. For example, you have to have a structure, and that helps you also
Yes.
and keeps you consistent, because then you can see more the result of like what you're doing.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. So that leads to my next question. These days, as you're preparing for a
Hmm.
performance, what are your intentions? What is present for you today when it comes to getting ready for performance?
Um, um, so basically, when you when you're like a professional dancer, depends like what you do. If you're like working on a project, either it's yours or either it's like somebody else's and stuff, and you have to practice every day, it's a lot for the body. So you need to like physically be able to respond to like what is coming. So you need to be physically very engaged, and you need to build that, right? So it's really important that we take care of our bodies, and dancers often see themselves as artists, but not as athletes, and that's really
Mm,
not how it is, in my opinion. Um, I like we have to take care of our bodies. Like that's how it goes. Like you cannot expect to do like, I don't know, a backflip out of nowhere, or like to do a pistol squat move and like build around it without having done a pistol squat before in your life. You know what I mean? It's like just not
yep.
going there. And I'm a huge fan of working on the body besides dancing. I've always done like hitting the gym, doing yoga, doing like mobility workouts. I don't know, like hit workouts, like everything, that you can do besides like dancing. And days that I don't dance, I always like take care of my body. I think it's like really important. So one aspect is like this, of how we actually take care of the vessel that we live in, and then it's more like, depends what kind of like performance is, and if it's like my own thing that I'm building, or if it's somebody else's, then it requires different emotional, like a different emotional and mental state. mm, so yeah, right now I'm not preparing for something. Yeah, I'm just teaching for the moment. But when I was preparing for performance, it was more of like, okay, what is the other person want, that I like deliver with my skills in a
Mm,
way, and but also like, okay, how do I feel in my body? Like, do I feel good? Something feels like off, or something feels weak, or something feels very strong. Like I have to check in all the time, like what is happening, in the body, and what type of movement do I want to do, or like feels good or not. And yeah, if that answers the question.
no, it
Yeah.
definitely does. Well, it's like I guess there's two things there because there could be an individual
Mm-hmm.
performance, and then there can be sort of a group or a dance theater
Mm-hmm.
performance where you're a part of a
Yes.
larger. And if you're the latter, like yeah, you're building awareness of how are the other dancers
Mm-hmm.
moving, because like even if you can do, I'm out of my element here, but bear with me. It's
Yeah.
like even if you can do a skill, but no one else can
Yeah.
do it, it's not going to serve the group to have you out here doing your own
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so it's like, how do we make the group cohesive? How do we align energetically? How do we portray unity
Mm-hmm.
to the audience? And like, if you're alone, then it's like, okay, what do I want the audience to feel? How do I want to self-express?
Yeah.
They're slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
They're different. What are you excited to do next? Like if you got to build your dream performance for what comes next, what do you want to do?
I'm actually like currently just focusing on like learning more. Like I want to learn. Like I'm
Okay.
learning. Like of course, like we never stop learning. Yeah, that's one thing. But I'm really like in the practice mood. Like I want to just like practice and just go and just like
Mm,
become better. Because last year I didn't really practice a lot. I had like health issues and I traveled also a lot, so I didn't have the, I also worked a lot, you know, with the project, and I just didn't have time to give to myself. That's why I also
mm,
said earlier, it's not always, you know, like um, it's not always like easy, and we need to find the time as artists to also like um, fill our own cups and not always
yes.
like, you know, other people's, which, you know, it's also like perfectly fine, but sometimes we just need to be like, hey, I need to take a step back and just check in with myself. Okay, what is my dance? Because I feel like I didn't, like a year went by and I didn't feel like I evolved. I evolved here,
Mm,
which helps
yes.
more in a way, you know, because I practiced here a lot, and I see how, you know, one thought can like shift so many things in my body because I know how my body works, you know. But at the same time, I'm like, no, it's like I need to elevate now. Now it's a level up, you know. So I really want to practice. I really want to like focus on my practice, but I also do want to build my own solo. And I'm still like working on it. I need to do some research, and I'm excited to do that actually because it's gonna be the first time that I'm doing something on my own, like like everything, you know, the dance and the direction and the whole theme and how it's gonna be built and stuff. But so it's gonna be like a baby that I don't have yet, you know. But it's in my head, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited to see where this will take me because it starts with an idea, but then slowly as you go through the process of it, then it's also like changing a lot, you know. So I'm excited for that.
Yes.
I'm excited to, yeah, just focus more on like what's happening, you know, inside of me, and what can I do with my dance? What do I want to give to the people? Because that's also something that's very
Mm,
important to me. Because yes, we share dance, but the dance is for ourselves first, and then we share it with others. But for me, it's important. Okay, if somebody sees me and watches me dance, what do they actually feel? How do I contribute to the audience? You know, what kind of like um, feelings or vibes do I give out to the people? So that's important for me, and um, yeah, it's something that I take a lot into consideration with my art and my movement.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. What have you been drawn to practice, or what does practice look like for you these days?
So I'm getting into animation a lot. I want to start like
What is
animation. Animation is a style.
that?
It's a style that has a lot of like sub styles, so to say, and it's more of like you know, doing like the robot or having dime stops or like um, I don't know, like strobing, like ta 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 ta, all these things that look animated. Basically, it was inspired, like these dances were developed from inspiration of the cartoons and how the stop go animation, I think it's called, in like in
Yeah.
TV, where you would see like the T-Rex like move like that and do all this stuff. So yes, it's very technical and it's very hard, but I'm so excited to learn, and I just want to take this to the next level. And I also want to start practicing more popping because I began kind of like with this, and yeah, just overall I want to gain more control of my body and like what I can create, so I can take all these techniques
Mm,
and actually add them to my waving and just create like
yes.
more. And
Yes.
I don't know, like see where this will take me and what is gonna be, yeah, when what is gonna be as like as a result at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. What do you love most about the way you dance?
Mm, the way it feels. Like I just love how it feels,
Mm,
you know, in the body. I love what I feel through dance. because it's something that I have, like, I don't experience in any other like way in my life, and that makes sense that it's like that. I mean, you love differently, a parent, you love differently a friend, you love differently, like, a brother, and stuff like that. So for me, like, what dance provides me with, like, the feelings that it provides me with, nothing else compares to that. It's like so unique, and I just love the way it feels. I love how what
Mm.
I love what I experience through dance and what I can
Yeah.
experience. But I also love how it brings people together. So awesome, so amazing. Like this
Yeah.
unity feeling. Like it's so good. When you're in the space and you share and exchange with
Yeah.
others, like it's just amazing.
Well, and you've had the unique experience of doing it all over the world, which means you know that like it doesn't really matter where you're from. It doesn't really matter
Mm-mm.
what you look like. It's just you're all there for the purpose of
Yeah.
dance or for the experience of finding joy in this thing that you
Yeah, it's a
all
body
love.
language, like it's such an amazing
Totally.
feeling. And I think art does this, like, in general. Like you can find like people, either you sing or you paint or you do whatever, like it's just like a common point where you come together and nothing else matters. Just like what you share and
Mm.
what you can share with the other person. And it's so beautiful. Just like there's only love there.
Yeah. Mm. Are there dancers out there right now that you really love or admire? People whose work you're just super inspired by?
Um, yes, there are like some people that I've been very inspired by, like from like many years now. One of them is Kali, who's also like my best friend, and she has been there for me. She helped me a lot, like through my dance journey, and she taught me also a lot of things. And I just really love, like, her unique style. And then there is like Robo Z, who he also is from Germany, and he's considered to be an OG now. And he's just like, again, so unique, like so, like his own
Mm.
character, like just so inspiring. Like you see him and you're like, wow, where did that come from, like it's like, how did you even like think about that. And then it's Boogie Frantic, that I really admire and have been inspired by, like especially to do my own thing, because back then when I was like 17 and I started like popping, I was always waving, but I never felt like I could do waves outside of a popping round. So this put me inside a box,
Mm.
and then I started, like, finding out about dancers like all over the world and stuff. And then I remember I saw, I think it was something like a showcase somewhere. And he was just like doing waves and kind of like moving slow, and you could see that he's using the popping techniques, but he wasn't like doing the popping style. And I was like, oh shit, you can do that too. Like you can do it without the popping, So that inspired me a lot to be like, okay, I can actually do my own thing. And that's what I actually also did after. Like I dropped the battles, I dropped, like, the popping style for a while, and I was like, I just want to feel good in my dance. And that's why I withdraw myself. I moved back to Greece, and I was just practicing for a very long time, just trying to find, the movement in my body that expresses me, and that it feels good. Like I didn't care. I genuinely, like, didn't care about battling anymore, or about like being seen in the scene, and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do me. I just want to love what I create, and I got to this point, and for me, this is the success. Like I was already successful when I got to this point to like watch my own videos and be like, wow, that's nice. I love it. Yeah.
Mm. I love
Yeah.
that. Um, my last question for you is when your moments of doubt do come, when you see someone else who's amazing, you're like, oh God, I wish I could do that. Or when you feel like you're just not on your
hmm
game, what do you say to yourself? What is your self talk in those moments of doubt?
Mm, yeah, I don't really experience doubt anymore. That's also like a thing. I'm not finding myself in a space where I doubt myself or my skills, because I know that if I put in the work, I'm gonna go, like I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna get where I want. Um, But what I can say is that there are moments where I'm like, I wish I had practiced more, or I wish like I was better, like I was like in a better like emotional state or like mental state, like in practice like more and stuff. But I still like say to myself, hey, this is what you do, this is how you feel. Take your own time, nobody's rushing you. Like literally, you're running by yourself in this field, and you're the only one who's gonna like reach the line. So either way, you win, you know. Uh,
Mm.
so that's yeah, that's I don't know. I don't really have doubts. Like I have so much faith and trust in myself and in like my art and what I have like accomplished like all these years. But if I find myself like being, feeling like meh and stuff, I'm just saying, hey, this is gonna go away and you will feel good again, and things will be fine, and you know. So it is a process, also to get to this to get to this point. Um, but yeah, it just needs also these reminders and consistency. Yeah.
Beautiful. Alex, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. This was
Yeah,
such a,
thank you
a wonderful
too.
conversation.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I really appreciate
Yes,
it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so, so much for listening to Stage Dive. I'm having so much fun having all these conversations and meeting these wonderful, wonderful people. But I appreciate that this is also going out to you, the person who is listening. So my request, my ask, my desire, if you have any curiosities, questions, guest recommendations, suggestions for the podcast, please, please, please send us an email at stagedivepodcast@gmail.com. We read every single email that comes through. We will get back to you. We really do want to hear what you love about the podcast, things that you think could improve, and how we can make this a better show for you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.